So you want your goal to be specific. You don't want like a general goal, say, I want to lose weight. Then you have nothing to measure, right? And then you want it to be attainable. You want something that's realistic. Because again, if you have this lofty goal, then you may get dissuaded very early on, and then you'll quit. And we don't want that. So we want something that's realistic, attainable, that's the relevant. You want something that makes sense for you. Like, is this something you really want to do? Or are you just following what a trend? Because social media is the thing, TikTok is a thing, and so it's these trends. But this is more, like your health journey is greater than any trend. But you want to choose something, a goal that is relevant to your situation. And finally, time bound. We want to set a timeline for ourselves so we know what we're reaching to and when we have to do it. Even if you don't reach it, because we're going to talk about, it's two types of goals. We're going to have the overall outcome goal, like what I want to do. And I think more importantly, or equally as importantly, are the process goals. Those are the steps that will get you to that outcome goal. And you want to see, it's important to have the process goals because it's a plan. It's like, how am I going to get, say I want to lose 5 pounds or something in a year. I mean, you can lose more than 5 pounds in more than a year, but we're just picking that, right? But it's like, how will I get there? And then when you do that, if you say, I'm going to walk more, I'm going to walk at least 20 minutes a day, right? And if you can measure that and you see that happening, then that gives you confidence. Muda Baruka just talked about confidence. That was the line that really stuck to me. Like, with confidence, you already won. And if you don't have confidence, then you're twice defeated. So this is all about building confidence. So we just take it step by step, simplify it. We don't really need to make it complex because our bodies take control of most of the complexities. And we just want to do something, that's the attainable piece. That's the long-term piece, is when we take it step by step, piece by piece. And that's time bound. All right. So this is a grounding focus conference. So I want to kind of have a grounding moment, but more of a moment of reflection, because I don't think many people think about this. The true partnership, a partnership with you and your body, you may think it's separate, but you have your body, the physical being that's controlled by your brain. You have these stimuli, it takes in all these stimuli, the brain processes it, and then you have that you that takes that information and you make that choice. So those are the two partners. It's you, the decision maker, whatever that is. I still haven't been able to like quantify that, but it's that person that decides, I'm going to eat more whole foods. And then you have the body that takes care of mostly everything for you. And I just want us to sit and really think about that and give gratitude, because your organs and organ systems, and we have a lot of them, we can list them off. Your nervous system, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, your endocrine system, reproductive, all of these systems, they understand the assignment every second. People talk about understanding the assignment. Your body, your organs, your organ system, appreciate that, because you're sitting right here, right now, breathing, because your body, your organs, organ systems are doing what they need to do. And that it handles all of the complex tasks of keeping you alive. And we want to do more than just be alive. We want to thrive, right? And so that's where we come into it. Not to minimize our role in this, but when you look at everything the body does, what we have to do is kind of small, is a small task. There are nutrients that the body doesn't produce. The body makes a lot. It handles a lot for us. I didn't even mention the immune system. We have our own Department of Defense that steps into play and protects us from all foreign particles. So appreciate that, have gratitude. Honor the body that brought you in today, that's sitting here right now. It is great. So it's about, are you honoring your role in this partnership? So my first question to you, and I think you have your notepads in your book, in your bags, you can take that out, because we're going to do a lot of writing. And I mentioned to you how my background is in epidemiology. So the girl loves data, and we're gonna do our own data collection. So take out your books and write down this, like what, we have these two questions here. Currently, if you reflect, what is your current contribution to your partnership with your body? What is your current contribution? And also, what do you hope to achieve? If it isn't at the level that you want it to be, what do you hope to achieve? Where's my? I need some water. And also, you have this, you have that questionnaire right there. That's also a part of your data collection. You don't have to fill all of it out. You can take it home with you and fill it out then, or wherever. It's not like you're gonna get everything done now. And also pay no attention to the rather aggressive instruction. They're like, you have to fill all this out. You have to answer completely. No. I just got this from the internet, and I'm just asking you to go through this and honestly answer this. So it's really about the foods that you eat and how often you eat them. And it's really a baseline so you can see where you're at. You can celebrate your strengths, and then you can work on, develop solutions for your areas of improvement. And I want you to be honest. Like I'm not saying you guys are honest people, but if you're gonna be honest with anyone, first be honest with yourself, because you're not helping yourself if you're not fully honest. No one's grading, no one's judging. This is a judgment-free space. But this is how we start. This is the beginning of our data collection, and this will help guide. Our data will help inform the goals that we make, and also the answers to those two questions, and we'll have more questions. So, yes, what's the problem? Just go get some. Thank you, be blessed. All right, so then how do we become a good partner to our bodies? I mentioned this before. Our bodies make so much. You talk about like the genetic material, our cells. That's responsible for making many of the proteins that make you who you are and have your body function the way it is. But there are certain nutrients, certain substances that your body needs. So if your body's handling all this for you, like you don't want to sit there and handle the whole digestion process. I don't know how many of you are biologists or you study biology, but you know how digestion works, right? And metabolism, I mean, it's like photosynthesis really, but the reverse. But you wouldn't, like, how would you fare doing all that? You don't have to. All you have to do is care. Take care of your body through movement and give it its nutrients, the very few nutrients that it needs to perform at its optimal level. So this is a guide, and I think it's important to make it feasible and attainable. You want to adapt it to your current situation. You see these things, these are guidelines, but you want to take stock of where you are and what you can do, and you kind of modify and adapt it to fit your specific needs. I think that's where many people, I don't want to say fail, but they aren't as successful because they try and model 100% what someone else is doing. But you really have to have it fit your situation, and that will make you most successful. So these are the general guidelines. Macronutrients, how many of you guys know what macros are? You probably heard people say counting macros, like, I never did that because I don't have time for that. I say keep it simple. Our body handles all the complexities. And if you keep it simple, that makes you more successful. That's what I want you to take away, is to honor the partnership with your body, because your bodies do so much for you. Like, I feel like it's a disservice to the greatness of our bodies to not honor our part of it. And it's just feeding it its macronutrients, and it's macro because you need it in larger amounts, right? So that's your carbohydrate, that's your protein, and that's your fat. And I know people hear fat and they're like, oh, fat. Fat's very important. Fat insulates your organs, organ systems, it protects it, it's important for hormone production, and it's also important for brain transmission, for cell structure. We're all made up of cells, so we need fat. And they're important fats like omega-3s, you have your unsaturated fats. That's what you want more of. So that's when you see there for fat intakes 20 to 35%. So this is based on your caloric intake. Again, I never counted a calorie a day in my life. Who has time for that? But you can visually kind of see like, hey, 20 to 35%, that's a significant portion of my diet, should be fats, but less than 10% of those fats are coming from saturated. It's saturated fats that actually leads to the development of cholesterol. And we know what happens with cholesterol. There are two types. There's the high density lipoproteins and the low density lipoproteins. You don't really need to know that, but you can know ADL, HDL, that's the good cholesterol, and LDL, which is the bad cholesterol. But it's the saturated fats that you get from like fatty meats, a lot of the red meats. I don't know if anyone's vegetarian, eat meat. It's no judgment, like eat what you eat, but try and make sure it's whole food. So you want to kind of stay away or reduce the amount of saturated fats you consume because that leads to cholesterol. And a lot of people think it's dietary cholesterol because I know some folks, they stray away from eating eggs. Eggs are actually rich in an abundance of micronutrients, which we'll get to next. But it's not really the dietary cholesterol. That's a major misconception, that dietary cholesterol leads to that at the hardening of your arteries. That's not it. That's when you consume too much saturated fats, and a lot of that is through meats, fatty meats consumption. So you want to limit that to less than 10%. But you have all these wonderful unsaturated fats. We don't need to get into the chemical structure of it, but if you have questions about it, again, I'm a scientist, so you can come ask me. But and unsaturated fats like omega-3s, which you can get from oils, avocado oil, sunflower oil, all these wonderful oils that you can cook in, right? And you can get your omega-3s. If you eat fish, salmon, I do eat fish. I'm a pescatarian, right? I don't eat it often, but I try and get salmon at least twice a week. It's good for your brain. It's good for your blood pressure because it dilates your arteries, right? And it also decreases inflammation. Too much inflammation does damage to your body, your organs. And I think that is what plagues a lot of African Americans. It's heightened inflammation caused by heightened stress. Nobody talks about the stress. They like to focus on the choices that we make. And they say they put it on you, but it's more than that. Individual factors are actually at the very bottom. We have other factors that influences what we eat. But I think a lot of Black people live in a state of chronic stress. And chronic stress, when you have high levels of cortisol, that's the stress hormone, right? It's very important because it has important functions, but when it's heightened, it can lead to high blood pressure. That's what you see a high prevalence of in the Black community. Diabetes, all these things, and I think it is because many Black people live in a state of chronic stress, right? So that's another thing. I didn't put it in the slide, but we want to deal with our stress, try to attenuate, reduce the amount of stress that we have in our lives as much as we can, right? Certain things we stress over, like a lot of times we try to attain to this fictitious standard of living that society tells us to. So we stress ourselves out to our own detriment for our own health. Yoga is a great way. We're going to talk about that in the fitness slide. Just meditation, mindfulness, just sitting there. And because once you're in yoga, and I still struggle with this, and I've been doing yoga consistently for like a year, I would be upset with myself because I couldn't calm my mind, right? But it's a practice. But sitting there, you can notice how much your mind is constantly going, right? And that cannot be good for us. So I really do encourage you. Don't have to go to some fancy yoga studio. We all have our smartphones. We all have access to YouTube University. I mean, that's what I would go to sometimes for yoga. Make time. You are important. Your body deserves you to put in that extra effort to like have time to yourself. There's so much going on out there. So you just need time to calm down. It's a great way to reduce your stress. I'm going all over the place, right? But you're sticking with me. I'm moving along. You have a question?
Should we save the question to the end, or is it more active?
You can give me a question.
Maybe it's just some quick ones. Avocado,
That's unsaturated. It's monounsaturated. Again, we can get into the science if you want, but that's unsaturated. That is a great food to eat. It has the omega-3s, and it also has vitamins, vitamin B6, which is good for building your tissue, right? So I used to be one of those people, it was a hype around avocado, and they're charging $1,000 for a piece of avocado toast. I was like, it's not that great, folks. It's not like what you're hyping it up to be. I'll eat it now, it's okay, and I eat it mostly because of the nutritional benefit. But it took me a while to get on board because it was a hype thing. It's really not that great tasting. Like, you gotta doctor it up for it to taste that good.
Butter.
I know, it's wonderful, but it's not like what people were saying, oh my gosh, this is the best thing in the world, I'm gonna pay $1,000 for a piece of toast. No, it's not that, not that.
I've heard that our brain matter is primarily composed of cholesterol and different fatty tissues. Is that true?
It's not really fatty tissues, it's they call it gray matter. You have gray matter, white matter, and it includes some fat. I did mention fats are important for your brain, but it's like all these neuronal pathways, but they specifically refer to as like white matter, gray matter.